I was I was in Champaign, Illinois, 2 hours south of Chicago, and I was the producer of a radio morning show and had my own radio show. My friend was taking classes. He was in class with Tina Fey and working at Second City, and I visited him on the weekends and saw their improv sets, and I said, I can't do that. That's too hard. Those guys are amazing. Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert were in the same show, and they were improvising songs that melted my brain. They were that good, and I can't do that. And then I went to see a student show, and I was like, well, I could do that. I moved 2 weeks after that. It's the student shows I could do. Yeah.
So you were out of college then, I guess, or?
Oh yeah, I was way out of college. I was head of marketing for a computer company in Champaign, Illinois. I mean, I was like technically an adult who decided I'm going to go to Chicago and live in a studio with my best friend and learn improv. I wish I had started younger. It would have been wonderful. I think I moved to Chicago in 1995, which puts me at 30 when I moved up. So I was already way older than my classmates.
That's very interesting. So most people don't start their lives and they've already become changed, but you had already started your life and decided to change after you had it.
It was a pretty crappy life already, so the change wasn't that big a deal. They have timing, they have imaginative, quick minds, and improv is a conversation. If you're able to have a conversation, you should be able to improvise. Sometimes great comedians don't know how to give and take, and they can't do improv. Sometimes people are no good at listening. And sometimes people who are terribly unfunny are wonderful improvisers because they have interesting points of view, they really listen to what's going on. And some of my favorite improvisers say that with how today you get put on a team and things like that, they would not be put on a team because it's a little bit faster now and their give and take is a little slower, they're more patient. So it's interesting to see that. And some people are born, they're just ready to go. And that's like any sport. Why is that guy's the world's greatest baseball player? And you run, but there's nothing that says you're going to be great at hitting a ball that's traveling 100 miles an hour. It just happens. And it's wonderful to see. Absolutely. Absolutely. Noah Gregopoulos, who took over for Del in Chicago, is doing some amazing work. And he's doing amazing work on a regular, insane basis. Like every 8 weeks, he's turning out another 100 kids that can do improv, which that's all Del wanted. They didn't want a great show. He wanted to be able to codify it so you can teach it. And he did. So he was happy with that. If you're insanely lucky enough to get him, David Pasquesi teaches classes once in a while. You can get him, TJ Jagodowski, same thing. If you get him as a coach or a teacher, it's wonderful. And I'll tell you what, I do lights for 3033 with Bill Arnett and Danny Mora and Alex Vendricks and those guys. And they were doing a show one night, and TJ came into the light booth and told me, he goes, I feel better knowing that Bill and Danny are doing shows. I've never even told those guys that. I'll tell them tonight. Yeah, and they're right. He goes, doesn't it feel good to know that they're going to do a show on a regular basis? And they do wonderful work. Sadly, all improv businesses do not run off their shows. Most improv businesses run off the training center and the bar. In the case of Second City, the template for them is corporate work, which has nothing to do with improv or sketch, really. It's incorporating both into corporate messages, and then the training center. The Improv Olympic, I'd say it's the training center. And same with the Annoyance, it is the training center. The training center is pure money, and you don't have to have any results. With shows, you have to have good shows, and that's hard. It will be training centers that push it. To me, the future of improv, if it is to succeed as its own art form, needs an improv theater, period. No bar, no training center, just shows that have to be good enough that people want to go to them on a regular basis and pay $20 to see a show. And there is no theater like that right now. Improv Olympic tries, but even its biggest hits are not owned by Improv Olympic. Its biggest hits are TJ and Dave, Improvised Shakespeare, and World News Tonight, all privately owned. It'll happen eventually.
Is there any theater that's getting there, maybe? Or are they all kind of like...
Some of them cheat because they do training center, but they also do like short form so it explains it to people. But even like I guess a wonderful theater is Improv Acadia in Maine, but they're seasonal, so they close for the winter. So the real challenge is, can you be open all year round? In Maine, that would make no sense. But in New York, even UCB, that's all training center money. And those shows, I don't know how many improv shows they do a week, but it's not 50-50. It's like 20-80, 20% improv. I hate to use the painting analogy again. No one goes, I'm going to make a lot of money by being a painter. If it happens, it happens. And of course, it usually happens after you're dead. And with improv, it happens after your soul is dead. And then you've written 15 Captain Fartman sketches, and it becomes a movie, and now you're rich. With improv, it's more, I make a living off improv, knock on wood. And I do it not through improvisation. I do it because I teach, and I own the shows I produce. And I make sure those shows, A, make money, B, have a contract that guarantees money from the theater. A lot of people forget that it is a business, and they put up a show. We're going to put up a show, and it runs for 6 months. Then they ask, what's your contract like with whatever theater they're with? And like, we don't have a contract. We just do shows. So you decided to just give that guy your money. And that always bothers me, because it's just lack of asking someone. You know people, ask. And no one will begrudge a question. That's one of the nice things about improv. It's very helpful. There are other creators in similar predicaments as I, and we get together and we talk about taxes, and we talk about contracts and how to compensate our players, things like that. It's hard. It's my advice to people moving to Chicago is always, there's no such thing as a starving artist. It was romantic in France in the 1800s. It is not romantic now. Have a job, have health care. When the showbiz picks up so much that you have to quit your day job, you won't care about that other stuff because it'll be handled for you. But saying I can't take an office job now in case I get auditions is dumb. That's what I tell them. Honestly, I don't want to be too grandiose about it. I mean, I love it. I've so far devoted my life to it, but I think it's just another medium. Yeah, you ask a painter, what is painting? And they'll say, oh, painting will save the universe. You ask an improviser, improv will save the universe. But it's a medium for people to express themselves. And when done correctly, it's a wonderful tool. The basic essentials of improv helps corporations, it helps blackjack dealers, it helps doctors, it helps nurses. And it's a great skill set to have. It's basic communication skill sets that we tend to lose. So yeah, I think that can help people, but I don't want to be like, it's not like seeing a show will change your life. You need to be a real special person for that to happen, I guess. Neither. I think improv is learned by watching shows you enjoy, and then hopefully, with luck, there's someone who can explain it to you. In that it's almost like music theory. I can hear a song and love it. I don't know a single thing of how to reproduce that song or how to translate it into my own song. A good teacher can do that. Some of the greatest improviser I ever met personally is Scott Adsit. And he was on the Second City main stage. He never did any corporate gigs, and he never taught. And you don't make any money from being on the Second City main stage. You get money from being corporate gigs and for teaching. I asked him, why don't you do either of those things? He goes, well, I didn't do all this time and go all that training to be someone's shill. Also, what I do is intensely personal to improvise, and I cannot translate that into someone else. And conversely, I know people who are terrible improvisers who are wonderful teachers. They get comedy, they understand comedy, they're able to translate the techniques of being a comedian to someone else. You know what? I'm really not into music. I don't buy a lot of DVDs, I don't buy CDs. If I do buy a lot of stuff, it's because I'm going to do a show using music. To me, it's my music. I'm as into improv as other people into music. I can name deep cuts from teams and performers. When people go, oh yeah, that guy was in that, he only played bass in this and now he plays lead in this, I can do that with Chicago improvisers. The first show to play at 11 on Sundays at Improv Olympic was a show called Quartet. It was run by Jeff Richman, Rich Tallarico, Stephanie Weir, and Bob Dassey, and I can name everything they did after that. I can name the best shows they had. It's my music, and it's also a brilliant canvas. I write. I write fiction. I write nonfiction. But improv is how I really write. It's funny because it's documented for me in that I was taking classes with Del Close, and I had done a scene, and if you go to my page in my notebook, it says, taking about 3 lines for each letter in all caps, it says, "This is why I fucking moved here." And I'm very lucky to have that. Yeah, Del, those classes actually changed my life. And I told him that, and he went, "Of course. It's the first time you have a teacher who knows what he's talking about." And he loved it. But he was very happy. He was happy.